Ready for your inspection.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, soldiers, sailors, airmen and civilians working in and with and for NATO, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me this morning to welcome each and every one of you to this celebration of NATO's 40 years birthday held here at the Karup compound. A most heartfelt welcome to our guest speakers, His Excellency the Danish Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Uffe Ellemann Jensen, the Mayor of Fejrede und Hamburg, Dr. Henning Forscherau, and the Commander-in-Chief Allied Forces Northern Europe, General Sir Geoffrey Howlett. A special welcome also to the Chief of Defence, the Danish Chief of Defence, Admiral Sven Tide, who, as a most kind gesture also to us, has decided to personally escort the Foreign Minister today.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased and honored indeed to address you today on the 40th anniversary of the North Atlantic Treaty. I bring greetings and congratulations to all of you from the Danish government on this occasion. This very place, Karup, is probably the best and most obvious testimony to the position and importance of NATO in Denmark. It is here that the visions and intentions of the North Atlantic Treaty are transformed into planning and action in close multinational cooperation for the defense of our part of the world. We may be at a turning point for the better in international affairs. The climate is warmer and the winds grow less frequent and less rough, at least in the political climate. Western cohesion and steadfastness have contributed significantly to this development. The solidarity among NATO allies has been a key factor. We are, however, still faced with many challenges, also in the field of disarmament and arms control. The alliance will continue its coordinated and patient work towards lasting results, and we need a strong and credible defense as a basis for these negotiations. The Danish government is confident that the new agreement, which re-establishes the traditional broad political basis for Danish defence, will contribute positively to Allied defence. You, Allies and Danes, in fulfilling your duties to the Alliance, form the backbone of our alliance, which is the necessary precondition for achieving the common goals. Let us therefore today congratulate each other on the anniversary of our alliance, as it is being done by our allied friends and colleagues all over Europe and North America. Let us make a common wish on this occasion, that NATO will carry on ensuring peace, freedom and security for all its member states and their peoples. Thank you.
Herning Kirkes drengekor will now pay their respect to NATO 40 years anniversary. You will now be addressed by His Excellency Präsident des Senates und erster Bürgermeister der Freien und Hansestadt Hamburg, Dr. Forscherau.
Mr. Minister Ellemann Jensen, Your Excellencies, Admiral Hede, General Howlett, General Amlett, ladies and gentlemen, I'm indeed very happy to have come here today as the guest of Allied Forces Baltic approaches in order to demonstrate our solidarity with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the soldiers of the Alliance, and our good neighbor Denmark. Both in the North Atlantic Alliance and in the European community, Danes and Germans are partners and friends. Among you and among us as well, many folks will have become accustomed to greeting each other as old friends. That this should be so is an excellent thing and is partly due to our alliance. Something with 40 years ago barely anybody would have dared hope when NATO was set up is today taken for granted.
By our Commander-in-Chief, Allied Forces Northern Europe, General Sir Godfrey Howlett.
"40 years is a long time for an alliance to have managed to keep the peace. And I don't suppose that anybody 40 years ago would have expected in the era of 1949 that we would have had this length of peace. 16 nations is unique. There has never been an alliance of 16 democratic nations that have put themselves together to combat a particular threat. Of course, the period that we reach now does involve changes. Of course, it's true that the strength of NATO has prevented the long period of tension going on forever.
Last but not least, thank you to the air station, to Flyvestation Karup, for all the support they have given us today, particularly for emptying this main workshop hangar for the ceremony. 40 years ago, April 4th, 49, I was a second lieutenant undergoing advanced flying training. The home of the unit was this very hangar. This brings about numerous memories from which I shall spare you all but one, and that is that I can clearly and very precisely remember the situation and the status of my country and her defense as of early 1949, and that I can, as a simple soldier, safely state that we have certainly come a long, long way in and with NATO over the first 4 decades. Thank you again for all and to all for honoring us today with your presence. Thank you.